I gave you guys the handout for instant words. We are going to do the section on instant words. This section will go behind the colored instant word tabs in your training binder. That handout that I gave you for this lecture will go behind the section instant words in your binder, your training binder. Now, after we do the discovery and linkages, we clip down on our chart. And y'all, I let a child do that because I cannot keep up with all the things. Right. And they love it. They want to be the clipper. So the rationale, these words are taken from the 1,000 Instant Words by Sackley and Fry. The first 100, remember we talked about this yesterday a little bit, 50% of all written material is made up of those first 100 words. Remember how we looked at that 4th grade sample? And the first 1,000 is about 90% of all written material. These are not irregular words. They are just high frequency, really. There are irregular words in there. These are not necessarily irregular words. A lot of them are decodable. So set 90% of all written material. But remember, our kids don't really have that ability to hold on to those. So we got to give them strategies and lots of repetition. 500 to how many? 1,500. So if we do the first 300 instant words, which is what we have in our boxes, that makes about 65% of all written material. So more than half. So our procedure is really, I don't know if you remember what I did with Alden, but I would say it and she would echo a line. So if I've got a group, I'll say it, you all would echo, and then we would practice. Correct procedures are okay. So the first way we introduce, the very first time, is the deck. So we go through the decks. Now in Arkansas, for science of reading, we have to do partial decoding. So we pay attention to the part they can use their phonics with, right? So like this word you, they may or may not know it. If you have older kids, they know a lot of words because they've been, my high school kids, I really didn't have to do this as much with, but little kids you do. So like they might know that. So we can use our phonics for that, but we have to know this part by part. So we still want to, if we put to teach it, if we notice they don't know that, then we'll have to teach them that with partial decoding. So this word is not a, it's a. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. So we say it, but we don't often do it when we're reading and when we're teaching children to read. But when we're reading fast, we'll say Yeah. Okay, and then there are, I'm gonna go back over this for just a minute, columns. So we did that the second day, columns. And there will be rows. So here's what I want you to do. In your black line master book, this is probably the easiest way to do this. The procedures are written out for how to introduce these. What page is that? Sorry. Okay. It is on page 2. Page 2. Looks like this. At the bottom. It's not Roman numerals. It's down at the bottom of page 2. So it's in there, which is weird. It's in the Fry instant word. Like, so there's teachers got teaching plans, lesson plans, And then page 1 starts over after page 10.
We also
Yeah.
have it on page 193 in our binder.
Yes, you do. If it'd be easier on 193 of your binders, you can open that up.
Whoa.
Yeah, you go to page 10 and then it starts over.
Yeah.
It's super weird. So I would tab that for your instant words part, but. So day 1, the first lesson introduction, flashcards 1 through 10. Instant words are the most frequently used words in the English language. Students read over these words without coding them as sight words. And here's the prep. We're gonna use some words in our language that often, can't read it that far away. Okay. We use some words in our language so often that you will learn to recognize them instantly, and we call these instant words. So I'm gonna read them and you're gonna echo them. And then we're gonna practice. So I prep, that's your prep. You know how in our book it has prep and then practice, that's your prep. You wanna set them up so that they're learning without failure. We don't want them guessing right now. And then you're gonna go back through them and the kids are gonna read them in unison. And then what do we call these words? We call them instant words because we have to read them in an instant. Day 2, you'll go to the columns. So flip over, you see the columns. Page 7 has columns. So I'll tell you in a minute how I do that. So we would go through the columns, we prep them, we read aloud 1 word at a time and they echo. So I'll do that with you. The, in, is, to, that, of, it, and you. So we prep them by reading it and them echoing, and then they take turns reading a column. And that's day 2. Day 3, the same 1 through 10, you'll do the rows, which is the next one where you do the same thing. They're gonna echo, then they're gonna take turns reading. And then we can send that home for practice. I'll tell you how I do that. Day 4, the instant words 1 through 10 is words in phrases. So they have some phrases. In it. Is it that? That is in. Of it. In that. And is a. Of the. Is it the. To that. You and it. So you do the phrases.
Which phrases do you typically echo all of them the first time you
I
do
do.
some?
I do, yeah. And that's day 4. And you remember our cycle, then on day 5 for us, we're gonna do comprehension, right? Yeah. Mhm. Then look at your, the page 3 that has the kind of the procedures. On the week 2, day 1, you're gonna do 11 through 20. We're gonna talk about this more in a minute. And then we'll do the same things. We'll do the flashcards. And then day 2, we'll do the columns. And day 3, we'll do the rows. And day 4, we'll do the sentences and phrases.
They'll know the schedule time.
Yeah, they will. And remember, we use our little phrase thing that we made yesterday in our sentence card. Remember, we made the phrase and the sentences, so you can go over that with them. Yeah. Sentence is a group of words that begins with a capital letter, it ends with a punctuation mark, has a subject, a predicate, expresses a complete thought, causes a comments, so forth. Right. Okay, so that's day 4. And that week you're doing 11 through 20. All right, go to the 3rd week. The 3rd week is going to be a review of 1 through 20. So you're going to do the same procedures again, but you're going to go back and take that first week's and the second week, so you do that all. Easy, right? Not hard at all. We know about instant words. But that's the procedures if you get to looking for them. They're also in your binder under instant words. So we do decks, then columns, then rows, then phrases. And then the three, after the third week, we do 1 through 20. That's your 3 week. Okay, so let's talk about assessing. At the back of this book, there is an assessment. It's a pre-test. We test the first 100 words to check for accuracy. Timing may be done if their accuracy is above 90%. So flip back there, and I'm not sure. 144. Now, one of these guys, unless they fix it, is not in the right order. So you have the teacher copy and the student copy, right?
Yeah, the student copies on 1/3.
Okay, the first 100 are okay. The second 100 is not okay. Look at the second 100.
So.
Look at the second 100. It goes across and the teacher goes down.
Yeah.
That one's not right.
Yeah. So this is the pre-test, the first 100,
Yes,
and then the post-test is the same.
yes.
Okay.
You're gonna check those.
Pre-test.
Yes, before you start lessons.
Start
I would
lessons at
figure
all.
out.
Yeah.
I would give the pretest and figure out where your kids are. If they're in second and third grade, you're probably gonna need to do the first, maybe in fourth grade. But like high school, when we did it, they knew so many of them, so we didn't have to. We could fill in that space with something else.
But you don't have
did
to
grammar.
It's up there. Part of,
Where
you
they
don't have
are.
to start at 1.
You don't have to start at 1. However, you're gonna have 6 kids in your group. I've got 2 of my
And they
groups
all be
have
on
7.
I'm gonna have one cousin.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. 2 of mine have 7, and I thought that was a lot, but 9's a lot.
I'm not gonna. They're working on it.
They're working on it. Well, so what happens is you gotta go to where
It's the lowest, yeah,
the lowest kids are and what that, yeah. You gotta meet their needs. So we're gonna practice. That can go home with them. What I typically do is when I finish that week, that handout goes home with them. And they take that home for practice. So they're practicing at home a week behind what we're doing in school. They don't have to bring it back. That's theirs to practice. And most of these parents want to help their kids, and that is one thing they can do with them. They may not know all the phonics rules, but they can work on instant words or sight words. They get that, right? They can do that. And it might help their parents. Yeah, it could. It could. It might be a conversation that you want to have with them about the procedures. I want you to read it first and then read it after you, and then let them practice kind of how we do it. Because they may not know what it is. Most of the time, the kids will say, no, you're supposed to read it first, and I'm supposed to echo you. They will do that. So we want to practice all of those things, then that's gonna go home. What I do is I have a place in my binder for instant words. Do you have that? An instant word section? And they just split
I
back
have a
there.
binder I can show them.
Okay,
Before the day is over.
yeah, before the.
She'd asked me about that.
Yes, so I had a binder for my student book and then my spelling, which I'll turn this off and do that in a minute. My spelling and then my instant words. Yeah. So. I'm gonna turn this off. That's that.